You know, in the history of global catastrophes, there are events that reshape nations. And then there are the ones that redefine what it even means to be human. Today, we're opening the case file on the single greatest extinction-level event humanity has ever faced. This is the anatomical breakdown of our apocalypse.
This was the message that signaled the end of everything we knew. It wasn't a declaration of war, it was a declaration of biological severance. This was the exact moment the world's health authorities basically admitted that the people we were all trying to save were in fact already gone. The person wasn't the patient anymore. The body was just a shell for the disease. Okay, let's really break this definition down. Because the words here are critical. We don't call them zombies. We don't even really call them the infected. They are the turned. And that's a clinical term for a biological reality. An organism that was human, but is now repurposed. Repurposed by a pathogen into something else entirely. The key here, the part you have to understand, is the complete erasure of the person that was there before. And that right there is what makes this pathogen so uniquely terrifying. You think about Ebola or the flu. They attack your body. This agent, it attacks the self. It literally dismantles your personality, your memories, your consciousness, and leaves behind this functioning, aggressive shell. It doesn't kill you, it replaces you. It's a parasite of the mind, and that's a kind of horror our species was just never prepared for. So, the big question, where did it all begin? You know, the search for patient zero has become this modern myth, hasn't it? It's this desperate attempt to find a starting point for the end of the world. But the truth? Well, the truth is always far more chaotic. The escalation was just terrifyingly fast. What started as a tiny footnote in a medical brief from some remote outpost became a regional crisis in 30 days, just 1 month. Within 90 days, it had crossed oceans. By the 6-month mark, the world's borders had become completely meaningless lines on a map. Our global interconnectedness, you know, the thing that was once our greatest strength, it turned out to be the perfect transmission network for our own extinction. We still don't have a definitive answer. All we have is a collection of pretty terrifying possibilities. So what was it? An ancient pathogen locked in ice for thousands of years, released by a warming planet? Or was it our own fault? An industrial neurotoxin? Or some military experiment gone horribly wrong? Or maybe, just maybe, it was simply nature's next move, a spontaneous jump from animal to human. We might never know for sure, and each theory just points to a different kind of failure on our part. So here's the crucial mistake. We missed it. In those critical early days, doctors saw patients with aggression and confusion, and they just diagnosed what they already knew. Things like rabies or severe dementia. By the time anyone realized they were looking at something brand new, patients had already boarded planes, they'd crossed borders, and they'd returned home, carrying the apocalypse with them right there in their own bloodstreams. All right, now let's look at how this thing progresses inside a person. It's a systematic 3-act tragedy that unfolds over about 3 days. Think of it as a countdown to the absolute loss of self. Stage 1 feels a lot like a severe flu. That's the body's last desperate attempt to fight back. But stage 2, that's where the horror really begins. This is the cognitive collapse. Victims become paranoid, violent, and they lose the ability to speak. They're literally trapped inside a mind that is actively being deleted. And by stage 3, well, the process is complete. There's just no one left inside. The lights are on, but the person is gone forever. To even begin to understand how to survive them, we first have to understand what they've become. And from a biological standpoint, the turned are a terrifyingly successful organism. They are, in essence, a new apex predator built from the ruins of humanity itself. Just look at the sheer devastation inside the skull here. On the left, you see a healthy human brain, you know, the source of our reason, our personality. Now, look at the right. The brain of a turned. The prefrontal cortex, the part that governs logic and impulse control, it's basically dissolved. The amygdala, our fear and aggression center, is just overdriven into a constant state of red alert. And the hippocampus, our library of memories, is essentially burned away. This isn't just damage, it's a complete neurological rewiring for one single, horrifying purpose: aggression. And this is what you're left with. The turned aren't evil. They aren't hateful. They are biological machines. They don't eat to live. They bite to transmit the pathogen.
Their bodies are nothing more than a delivery system, and their only instinct is to create more of themselves. They're the perfect biological weapon.
So, this brings us to the grim reality of containment, or really the complete and utter failure of it. Understanding how the infection spreads is really understanding why our modern world fell apart so quickly. The primary way, the one everyone knows, is the bite. Direct salivary transfer into your bloodstream. But just getting any infected fluid, blood, saliva, into your eyes or mouth is just as deadly. The truly terrifying one, though, is the airborne strain. Now, it's rare. We've only seen it during these massive peak mutation events. But a single event like that could infect an entire city block in minutes. A total nightmare scenario. So what could we do to fight it? The short answer? Absolutely nothing. It's not a bacteria, so antibiotics were useless. It rewrites your cellular biology, so antivirals failed completely. Their pain receptors are basically deadened, so sedatives and non-lethal force, a waste of time. A turned will just keep moving with broken limbs and massive wounds. The only way to stop one is to destroy the brain. Period. And you can see the results right here on this chart. It's a graph of the complete and utter failure of every organized human response. Military action, as you can see, was pretty much useless against this kind of swarming threat. Quarantines were always inevitably breached. And medical intervention, well, as we've seen, that was a non-starter from day one. We threw the full might of modern civilization at this thing, and we barely made a dent. So what actually works? Not fighting, running. The only proven survival strategy is radical, militant isolation. Getting as far away from cities and towns, the pathogen's breeding grounds, as you possibly can. Self-sufficiency isn't some kind of lifestyle choice anymore. It's the only ticket to seeing another sunrise. But the story doesn't end there. The most terrifying truth in all of biology is that life adapts, and this pathogen is no different. We studied its past, we analyzed its present, but we were not at all prepared for its future. For years, their behavior was predictable. Aggressive, instinctual, sure, but simple. We learned their patterns, we developed strategies. But we made the fatal mistake of assuming the enemy would stay the same. Now, it's clear the pathogen has been changing. It's been learning. So the only question that matters now is the one on your screen. Can we?
Field reports and new biological data are, well, they're unambiguous. The pathogen is evolving. We are no longer dealing with the same enemy we were 6 months ago. Everything we thought we knew, every survival guide that's ever been written, is now obsolete. The apocalypse we thought we understood is over. Phase 2 has begun.